I just love how stupid he is. I don't know when that's not going to be funny. Please stop doing that. Sliced his dingus off. The void of never getting done. The set on the right looked like it was written by a completely psychotic madman. We're going to bring it down for a minute? Like, it just made me laugh. I wonder how a serial killer, picks his victim. Oh my god, it's so cute, I gotta kill it. I want to kill you. And they're like, this is awesome, I've been waiting for you my whole life. You people are psychopaths. Indicted for bribery. Everybody saw that one coming, by the way. He typed in the wrong phone number and texted to the wrong person. Hey Charles, are you still interested in selling your house? If that doesn't send chills up your spine, you are not the kind of person that should be voting in a democracy. You think people don't like watching the top 20 now?
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
Greetings and salutations, good listeners of the Hard Rock Lunchbox, and of course the top 20. I have but one question for you. What day is it? That's right. It is October 3rd. October 3rd, 2024. Mean Girls Day 2024. I don't know when that's not going to be funny, but it's not starting today, so... You know what isn't helpful, by the way? Every time I turn this computer on and I see your browser has been updated to the newest version. Please stop doing that. Also, as an older version myself, what's wrong with the older version? Oh, everything? Everything's wrong with the older version? That kind of makes sense. The chat is doing good today so far. We got pumpkin boobies in the chat. That's a very seasonal way to start the show. Thank you, whoever the last show was. I appreciate that very much. Let's see. There's so much to go through. And I don't want to go through any of it. But I'm going to go through some of it because... me just staring at the screen for 20 minutes. You think people don't like watching the top 20 now? But yeah, let's start with a little light housekeeping. Might as well do that. The new top 20 is out today, and it's about the first 3 hours. It's called The First 3 Hours. And I talk about a little about how I just don't understand the existence of undecided voters. I'm going to talk a little politics today, just because there's two very interesting things that kind of went down. The least interesting of the two is the vice presidential debate that happened the other night. So uninteresting, in fact, that I didn't even know it was happening until it was happening. So there's that. And we're going to talk about a couple things from the court document release from the Jack Smith case about January 6th and the coup of former President Donald Trump. It's just some interesting stuff, and I just want to give you a quick, not that anyone really cares, but a quick what I think about some of the more interesting parts of it were. But yes, so we talk about on the new top 20 the Windows taskbar incident that I think is one of the funniest things I've ever done in IT. Capturing live energy, which is why we did the Razor Blade Diaries live and all that other stuff. Also, we have our first show in a little while is tomorrow night at Mr. Beery's. That'll be October 4th, not Mean Girls Day, but it should be known from this day hence that it's Revel 9 Mean Girls Day, and that's okay. Day late and a dollar short sounds kind of Revel 90 to me. And then we're at Whiskey Rocks in December, and I'll have more information about that. I'm still lining up bands for it. I think I've got 3 now. I'm waiting on one other person to let me know, and if not, I've got an alternate or 2 that I want to ask. So, just a quick note about the show tomorrow night. We almost had to back out of it, which is something that would be interesting. I've only ever canceled one show in my entire career. And I wouldn't have backed out of it completely. I would have just gone in there and maybe done it acoustically or done some sort of other version of Revel 9 or whatever. But Tony actually sliced, I want to say he sliced his dingus off because it's funnier, but he actually just sliced some of his fingering hand, no phrasing, and ended up getting stitches. But he is all set to play. He's going to be playing with a thimble on his finger to protect it. Immediately Kaz was like, we should sell those thimbles, right? Now Kaz, for all the things that Kaz is an absolute marketing genius, but he is what I would describe as Mitch Hedberg's dream job, where he talks about just naming stuff, and he's like, that thing keeps stuff fresh, that's called a fresher, and I'm going on break. That is literally what Kaz does. He says we should do this and then doesn't do it. So that is, if you ever want something not done, let Kaz suggest it and then tell him to do it. Now, if you ask Kaz to do something like fresh, like, he'll do it. There's just something about him coming up with the idea and then you'd be like, that's a good idea, you should do that, that just dumps it into the void of never getting done. It's like, I like to call it the deep chasm, if you will. I just came up with that right now, so I'm going to give myself one of these. The deep chasm of not doing, the Kaztastic void, as opposed to the fantastic voyage. But he was going to market Tony's used finger thimbles, which is just gross to say, even grosser to think about. But he will be there. I will say he only had one request, that we drop one particular song. It's always been the hardest song for him to play, so we did that. But we're going to open up with a classic Revel 9 song, so hopefully everybody will like that. But everything else looks like it's going to be on track to be, if not a great show, at least a very fun show. I know all the bands are very capable, and they're all very good live bands, and people are very excited about the show. I myself am starting to get very optimistic about the show, so I am hoping it goes well. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff kind of sidebarring, so I'm just hoping for the kind of escape of the moment and the show that I can just focus on and get that done, because I think that'll be good. We've got a really, really good set, and I will let you know right now that I had written a set for this show. And then I had missed rehearsal, I want to say it was last Tuesday. I went in to finish vocals for all the new recording. I went into our studio with Caggiano to finish all the vocals. And that was some session, by the way. It was a long session for starters, but also really pushed me past a lot of limits. But I think we got it done, which is awesome. I only have one more session to go for. I have one more session of guitar melodies. I got a track. I've been putting it off because my shoulder is so bad. I'll give you a shoulder update in just a little while. But what was I saying? Oh, so I missed that. I missed that rehearsal, and then I came into rehearsal the next Thursday, and on my gear was a piece of paper with 2 sets on it, and 2 different versions of the same set. So Kaz and Noodle had written a set that was on the left, and then Noodle had written a set on the right. Now, I'm surprising nobody by saying that the set on the right looked like it was written by a completely psychotic madman. And I will tell you, for fans of Revel 9, I don't know how it would have played out. Some of you, I think, would have loved it. Some of you, I think, would have been like, what? And I think most of you would have been like, huh? What? Why? And if once I explained that Noodle had written the set, you'd be like, oh, okay. I will tell you this. The main thing that stood out to me about it was that he started the set with Keep You Near. Now, at first thought, that's probably not the worst thing, but there's other elements involved here. He did offer up that the reason he wanted to start it is because he thought it was cool when bands like Pearl Jam start with like Oceans and stuff, like really, or Black or something like that. To which I reminded him that he is not only not in Pearl Jam, but neither are all the rest of it. I also pointed out what should be incredibly obvious by now, how I feel about bands that bring it down for a minute, even though we are obliged to. I have found that there is never a good reason to bring the show or the set down for a second, with one exception. And that is if the song that brings things down for a second is the song or one of these songs that people have come to see, right? If Freebird from Lynyrd Skynyrd was not one of their top songs, playing that song would basically just signal the audience that it's time to go to the bathroom or get a new beer. Because that's what slow songs do. It's also, if you notice, one of the main reasons I almost never play two slow songs in a set. I will do it if we push, an hour to 90 minutes into our set, just because at that point you need songs to do that. But you'll notice we almost never, or we don't ever play like The Good Fight, and Keep You Near in the same set. Like, we just don't. Like, because there's no reason to really do it in a 45 minute set. Like, how many times are you going to bring this stuff down? So I only play that song because it's one of the songs that I think people come to see. It's certainly our most popular stream song, so it's justified in my mind. If it wasn't, I don't think we would have a slow song in the set. And before Keep You Near, it was often that I wouldn't play any slow songs. I like to keep things up tempo. In fact, all of the newer songs are way up tempo, so it just drags the whole song up, which is good. But I also went on a very long rant years ago, or months / years ago, about how we had seen a band that got up on stage, and the very first thing they said was like, all right, we're going to slow this down for a minute, which to me is like, why not just do Harry Carey on stage? Like, you just took the stage and we're going to bring it down for a minute? Like, dude, that... if you're not hitting the stage with like an ample amount of energy, like, what do you expect the audience to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, cool, Revel 9's up. Falling asleep, It's not like we're taking the stage at 4:30 in the afternoon where people might need a pick-me-down. Like, we need to step some stuff up, Yes, I will actually take a picture of it tonight if I remember, and I'll post Noodle's set list on the Revel 9 Instagram if I remember. But also, when you're doing that with a slow song that is one of the songs that people have come to see, if it happens to be the song that people come to see and you open up with it, I, in my mind, think you're doing them a tremendous solid as a fan, being like, cool, we're going to play the one song you want to hear first so you can get the hell on out of here and get home. We realize it's late on a Friday, and it's like, there's a reason that bands play their best song last. Now, I don't know that we do that. I always close with a good closer. I don't necessarily know that it's anybody's favorite song, but it's usually up-tempo. It'll be like, Another Mistake or San Jose or Only One or, something a little faster. I don't need to make the audience wait all night to hear their favorite song, but I also don't need to give it to them first, right? Like, there's a reason that the appetizers are smaller, because if you gave people their steak first and then they were going to get their crab puffs, they might dip out or get it to go or whatever. So we don't want to do that, but it just made me laugh. I mean, the other rule I have with closing is I just don't close with a cover, right? I mean, I guess if your best song's a cover, close with the cover. But, like, I feel like you should give somebody your best at the start and give somebody your best at the end, so they walk in and walk out being like, man, that was full Revel 9. Now, these could be antiquated and archaic kind of ideas, but it's the way I've been writing sets my entire life, and I've learned how to do that over the years because it makes sense. As an audience member and a fan of bands myself, like, yeah, it'd be awesome to hear, like, your favorite song first if it's up-tempo. But, like, wouldn't you rather close the show with that and have people just lose their minds? I mean, when we used to play, this is years ago, like, when we used to play, we had a smaller set. There was obviously not a lot of options, right? Like, we have 3 records now, several EPs, you know what I mean? Like, we've got plenty of material that we don't ever play because we don't have enough time. But back when we used to, like, one of our standard closing songs, San Jose was always our opener, and Another Mistake was pretty much our closer. And one of the reasons that I would do that was not only was it a fan favorite, but because it was very hard for me to sing back in the day. It was very aggressive. Like, I've passed that point because I've written harder songs. My voice has gotten better. But I could literally blow my voice out. No phrasing? Blow my voice out on that song because it was last, so I could give you everything, which is what I think made it such a fan favorite over the years. I do remember this one show we were doing we were in Staten Island. We were playing, can't remember the name of the place, but we were playing, and it was a big audience, like, so the energy was all there, and I was definitely feeding off of it. It was one of the very few times anybody's ever bought me a shot on stage. And so we were going into the last song that bought me a shot and wanted to do it. And I was like, all right, let's just do it. The song's 2.5 minutes long. How bad could it be? Now, I've told this story before, but like, I spent the entire show sweating out all my other liquid in my body. So my cells were like, oh, cool, water. And then was like, oh, that's not water. So I got about 1.5 minutes through the song. And I have to tell you, all of that whiskey was like straight to the top. Because my brain was like, whoa, what's up? And I don't know that I remembered any of the rest of the words properly, but we had a really good time doing it. So, but the long and short of that story is I decided just to go with the left side of the list, which was the set that Kaz and Noodle had basically put together. And there were only a couple of changes from what I was going to do anyway, just a little bit of placement. What their set actually has is more stops. I tend to like to run songs together, but since we're closing, we can have a little bit more stops and we can talk and hang out with the audience a little bit more, so I think that'll be good. We do have 2 sort of new songs in the set. We've got a brand new one. It's called The One. Nobody's heard us play that live yet. I like the song. I'll tell you guys, and I'll probably say it from the stage. The song is actually, I wanted to write kind of a sleazier sort of rock song, kind of in the vein of Slipknot. I was listening to a lot of Slipknot when I wrote it, and I kind of like the aggression and the dirt and the grit of it, so I did that musically, and lyrically it just sort of followed the music. But the story behind the song, for me, was just sort of like this interesting sort of thought, because all the serial killer stuff was going on in the world, and by world I mean right where we live. But I remember thinking, like, I wonder how a serial killer, like, picks his victim. Like, just, like, how do you just know? Like, you know, is it like picking, you know, the dog you're going to adopt from North Shore? Like, oh my God, it's so cute, I got to kill it. Like, I don't know if that's how that works, not being a serial killer. But I like that sort of thought process. And then the turn on it for me was, okay, so serial killer walks into a bar. This is not a joke. And then, like, just trying to just chill out, but finds the perfect victim, like the woman that it just gotta have, and I guess just gotta kill. And what that thought process is like, but the switch in this is that the person he finds that he wants to serial kill ends up being, like, totally into it, totally down for it. And I'll leave the ending open to your interpretation, because it could just be a fetish, or they could just be totally into doing the killing with them, and then you got a Bonnie and Clyde situation. But I thought that particular switch up was fascinating to me. Like, could you imagine being a serial killer, be like, I want to kill you, and they're like, this is awesome, I've been waiting for you my whole life. Like, what? Like, you ever see those videos of the women walking down New York City streets, like, and construction workers are like, yo, baby, I want to marry you. And she's like, oh my God, I totally want to marry you too. And the guy's like, whoa. That kind of thing. Like, so the one's in there, and I rewrote the melody and some lyrics for As You Run, which is a song I've been dancing with for a little while. I thought I was going to make this last batch of songs, but I guess it just wasn't ready, so hopefully this will happen. In the next batch, along with what I'm expecting will be Nothing at All, Scars, Tony Omaha. Like, it's kind of hard to tell at this point, like, which songs we're going to go for. Plus, I've got other songs already in the pipeline and all that other good stuff. But yeah, so I feel like I'm talking too much, and I had no intention of talking about that. But it's going to be a good set tomorrow night. We are not starting with Keep You Near. You can bet your bottom dollar on that one, because Noodle's just that of a madman. And like I said, if I remember, I'll take a picture of it and post it tonight, because I'm sure half of you would be like, this is the best set ever, and you people are psychopaths. So that's cool. So yeah, I have talked a little bit, but I do want to do this really quickly because I want this to be part of the top 20, even though my eyesight is now totally horrendous because my eyes are watering. But Jack Smith, who is the federal prosecutor that is looking into Donald Trump's role of the January 6th coup, trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election, in light of the Supreme Court ruling that what presidents do in an official capacity are they do have a lot of immunity, which I think is stupid. I think most legal experts think that was stupid. The reason our president doesn't have that sort of immunity is because our system is based on checks and balances, which means the court and Congress can both check the president's actions. I mean, right? Like, as evidenced by, the Republicans now trying to impeach, Biden, or they kept suggesting they wanted to impeach Biden for everything he was doing as president, including dereliction of duty protecting the southern border. Well, if he's doing it as an official act of being a president, well, then you cannot impeach him for it because it's not illegal. So, I don't know. I'm not a legal scholar, but it just seems stupid and a real throwaway from the Supreme Court, which is just bananas to me. So what Jack Smith had to do is he had to basically just go through his legal arguments and point out why a lot of these things were not covered under presidential immunity. And it turns out in the final version of this draft that he put out, 160-something pages, there was only one thing he had to remove, and it was basically a conversation he had as president, with somebody else regarding it because it wasn't his official capacity. But what he asserts is that since the executive branch has absolutely nothing to do with elections, which is true because elections do belong to the states, and they also have Congress is responsible for this sort of thing, not the executive branch. So even if he was acting as president, the president has no official role in elections, so there's nothing he could do for elections as president, which I thought was interesting and a pretty black letter law based on our Constitution. But there were a couple things that were dropped, and I'll just keep it short. The first of which I thought was hysterical, is that they have texts from Rudy Giuliani, who I hate, by the way. I thought he was a scumbag then. I realized that he was America's mayor when we needed him most. He did rise to that particular occasion, unlike former President Donald Trump, who could not rise to the COVID situation. At least Giuliani did rise to the 9/11 occasion. I didn't realize it was because he wanted to be America's mayor, and he was really just looking to be all that. But he did do that job, and I can credit him with him. It doesn't mean he was a good guy, much like our current mayor, Eric Adams, who has now been indicted for bribery. Everybody saw that one coming, by the way. But so they have texts. They have this one particular text that was just really funny. So the allegedly attempting is going to be an important thing, but the message Giuliani was allegedly attempting to send read, quote, "So I need you to pass a joint resolution from the Michigan legislature that states that, quote, the election is in dispute. There's an ongoing investigation by the legislature and, quote, the electors sent by Governor Whitmer, she's the governor of Michigan, are not the official electors of the state of Michigan and do not fall within the safe harbor deadline of December 8th under Michigan law." So Giuliani sent that to Republican operatives in the State House of Michigan. That, by the way, is election interference, right? That's not contested. What makes this so great and so Giuliani specific is that he sent it he typed in the wrong phone number and texted to the wrong person. So it never actually even got to. So at best, it's attempted election interference because it never even got to the people he was trying. Could you imagine being like, listen, I need you to overturn the 2020 election, but it's really going to the wrong person? I don't know if anybody gets those texts. So it's like, hey, Charles, are you still interested in selling your house? Because I get them every week. I feel that's what it was. Could you imagine getting a text from Rudy Giuliani, just to your personal phone, being like, hey, we need you to do this in Michigan? Like, dude, I don't even live in Michigan. And I just love how stupid he is. He couldn't even get that right. No wonder Donald Trump couldn't turn over the results of the election. But the other thing, and this is the most striking thing, and this is what you'll probably be seeing all day, because it's just bananas to me that this is even a thing, and I've just got to find it so I could read it to you. I think this is in the Independent. No, here it is. So one of the things released. This is right from the court documents. As MAGA rioters swarmed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, chanting their demand to, quote, hang Mike Pence, unquote, a Trump aide received word that his running mate had been moved to a secure location for his safety, according to the filing. The aide, quote, rushed into the dining room to inform Trump in hopes that Trump would take action to ensure Pence's safety, end quote. Instead, after the aide delivered the news, Trump allegedly replied, quote, so what? Wow. And I'm sure people, all the MAGA faithful, are going to be totally fine with that. But I want you to realize what happened, right? Like, just in the simplest terms, an angry mob, whether you believe that or not, is irrelevant. An angry mob was there. We've all seen it. We've all seen them chanting, hang Mike Pence. They were not actors. They were not, what was it, Antifa, all the nonsense that people suggested. These are actual MAGA supporters, and I know that because they've been identified. A lot of them gone to jail. A lot of them gone to court. These are real people, real Republicans. Well, not real Republicans. They're Trump Republicans, MAGA Republicans. And they were there to overturn the results of the election. So an angry mob has entered the Capitol building and is looking for and stating their goal to hang Mike Pence, the Vice President of the United States. And our former president, President Donald Trump, at the time, not only didn't care, but didn't do anything about it to stop it. So he was fine with an angry mob hanging Mike Pence. If that doesn't send chills up your spine, you are not the kind of person that should be voting in a democracy. Where you belong is in a fascist state, like Iran, Russia, China, that kind of thing. That's where you should be. And maybe you should go there. I know I, for one, would not miss you for one moment. And I would really actually appreciate less traffic and less people parking where I need to park. So in a place like Long Island that seems to be like 55% MAGA, if we could just get all of you to just kind of go and find yourself a nice fascist state, I feel like the rest of us could park at any train station we want at any time we want. I know I'm personally stressing already where the hell I'm going to park when Craving Strange is playing at Mulcahy's later this month. So I'm thinking I might have to park at another train station and take a train there because there's just going to be no parking around Mulcahy's unless we can get rid of these 55% of MAGA supporters from around. Just an idea. I mean, I'll wish on a chicken wing, or like a wishbone. I'll wish on a star. I will do whatever other wishing you think would work. Rain dance, whatever, because my life would be so much better without these people here. Their Trump bumper stickers, their Trump flags, their Trump trucks, their stupid, stupid ideas about how life is supposed to work. I would be so much happier if they were gone. That way, I could see Craving Strange in peace and actually have a parking spot. But whether or not I can get that done by the show date, I don't know. But what I can do is I can play a little Jimmy's Blue Notebook for you because I can almost guarantee they won't be playing it that night. So we might as well hear it now on the box.